their home field, which makes it tougher for a team that was picked to finish sixth to begin with. Right now, it looks like we have some of the starting lineups in the defensive positioning, so I haven't seen any of this, but let's show you, the viewer, and me, the broadcaster, all of this at the same time. First, we'll take a look at the Beacons lineup. It's UMass Boston. Not a ton of changes from game number one. Eddie Riley, Ryan McCormick, Dave Murphy, Chris Fowler, Nick Herzog, Kyle Boudris. No changes there. Anthony Cesare stays out and left. The one change, Joey Rogers is in center field to start in place of Wanderson Pinales. Rogers came on as a defensive replacement to start the eighth, maybe the ninth inning of game number one. Charlie Hughey hitting in the shortstop spot, hit that 182 average, not indicative of Charlie's season. He's actually hitting at 250. That was Sal Frashino's batting average going in. Not a problem at all. Our graphics operator's doing a lot of updating in a very short span. We'll take a look right now at the defensive positioning for Western Connecticut State, who will again be the home team here. Game number two. Cleet LaRusso and Brett Shaw stay in. We saw Greg Campbell as I believe, a pinch hitter there in the ninth inning. He will stay in, and he'll actually get to start in right field in place of Joel Luna. Jake Babin is at third base, so he gets the start in favor of Joe Daigle. Bill Bacetto stays in the same spot. Joe Daigle will move from third to second. Matt Mancini sits on the bench with Adam Wilson getting the start. And Victor Rodriguez, I wonder if he also goes by the nickname V-Rod, will be behind the plate with George Belizna, who actually ended the last game at the plate. He'll be on the mound to start game number two. Belizna, a season ago, took the loss in game number one against UMass Boston, went a full 8 innings, allowed 4 earned runs, and threw 85 pitches, 68 for strikes, and officially earned a role, or at least a spot in my personal Hall of Fame for quickest working pitchers. As a broadcaster, anyone who works a lot of collegiate games, anybody who works quickly and throws a lot of strikes, they're going to get big accolades. We'll take a look at George's numbers right now for the big right-hander who doesn't throw all that hard. Belizna was the number one starter a year ago because of the injury to Shane Bierfeld. This year he's moved into the number 2 spot. The Worcester State University transfer. He's actually originally from Danbury, Connecticut. Listed as a pitcher/first baseman. He came on and pinch hit in game number one on the season. Belizna making his 5th start, 6th appearance, 1-1 with a 4.56 ERA. Team high 23 2/3 innings. 13 strikeouts, 3 walks, allowed 33 hits, 16 runs, 12 earned. He's gone at least 5 innings in all 4 starts, but hasn't gone past 6 1/3. Last Saturday in a no decision, 6 innings pitched, 10 hits, 3 earned, 3 strikeouts, and no walks. As he left with the score at 3-3, his team eventually fell by a 10-4 score. Anthony, you faced off against George a season ago in what was a quick-moving hour and 37 game. Do you remember anything about the big righty who's 6'6", 265, but doesn't throw all that hard?
Honestly, couldn't tell you much.
I mean, it was senior day. It was an emotional day for yourself.
Yeah. No, honestly, I don't remember too much about him. I remember that game went by very fast, though. Like you said, it was a quick one. But yeah, a lot was going on for senior day. So
Eddie Riley will lead off for UMass Boston, and the third leadoff hitter and third baseman, starting his 12th consecutive game, hits it hard, but right at the second baseman, Daigle. And there's quickly 1 out in the top of the first. The thing I really liked about that game was not only was Belizna throwing fast, but the combination of Matt Tully and Brian Kaufman threw fast as well. The 3 pitchers between the 2 sides combined for 190 pitches in a doubleheader. Compare that to Shane Bierfeld, who took 140 pitches to throw 8 innings just on his side. So that just shows how effective those pitchers were in what was the final conference doubleheader of the year, played on that last Friday after classes end. I mean, that day it wasn't even cold, and the pitchers were pitching well. McCormick chops it over to Babin at third. Long throw, bounces, and the first baseman, Wilson, can't pick it up. And it's going to go as an error on Babin. First time he's seen the ball all day, and his throw bounced over to Wilson at first, who couldn't make the play. I mean, you didn't typically have this issue of having to sit a game and then come in a game, but how difficult is that? I mean, you do get a little bit of warm-ups, but you don't get the full extended warm-up you get before game number 1 when both teams take full infield, outfields.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. Even just playing 2 games in a row is tough, but especially sitting that first game, especially with how cold it was earlier. Everything gets tight. You got to re-loosen up. You don't have BP before the second game, so hitting is definitely a challenge. But, I mean, there's really no excuse for the arm not being loose. You have enough time to loosen that up. It's really the hitting aspect and getting the body really as loose as you possibly can after a cold game 1.
1-1 to Dave Murphy, who had the big hit of game number 1, a 2-run shot with 1 out in the first inning, well over the mini monster in left field against Shane Bierfeld, who did go 8 innings in picking up his first loss of the year. And Murphy's looking for a second one. This one might stay in the park, going back onto the left fielder, looking up. Murphy has done it again. 2 two-run homers on the day, and the Beacons, for the second time in 2 games, have a 2-0 lead after 3 batters.
And the second one today for Dave Murphy of the UMass Boston Beacons.
I'm not going to say I called it, but in game 1 I did say when Murphy hits 1, he normally does hit 2, so that is the second for today for Murphy.
Murphy has 8 home runs on the season. He's got 4 in his last 3 games, and he's heating up at just the right time. Murphy came into today with 15 home runs, which was good for, I think, a tie for 5th place. The program record is 25, and I looked at that set and said, there's no way that Murphy's going to get to 25. He's only got about 20 games left in the regular season. Well, 2 today. He's got 17. If the weather heats up, Dave Murphy just might go after Ryan Walsh's record, one of the top hitters in program history.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him set the record for a season as well. I believe that is at 11 or 12, somewhere around there. I would not be surprised to see him attack that one as well.
Chris Fowler follows with the single up the middle. A good sign for Fowler, who had an RBI double back in the 6th of game number 1. It's Nick Herzog to follow, and we saw Shane Bierfeld follow a very similar path, although he didn't have an error committed behind him. How difficult is this for Belizna, who doesn't have that strikeout stuff, to settle in against the Beacons lineup that's already feeling it here in game 2?
For him in this game too, he's really got to spot up. He's got to get his off-speed stuff working. He's got to jam some hitters. He's got to really try and confuse them. We've been talking about it all day. The big dogs for UMass.
Throw down to second base, Victor Rodriguez, and it goes away out of the glove of Daigle, who's playing second. I don't think that would have beaten Fowler either way, but a rare stolen base for the Beacons' first baseman, and the Beacons have a runner at second. As we see John Susi come out and have a conversation with our home plate umpire, Fonseca. I think the question maybe was striker ball. I don't think he had an issue with the call at second base. Otherwise, he would have talked to Mark Delaney, who is behind home plate. And it's 1-1 now for Herzog with the runner in scoring position. The Beacons already leading 2-0. 1-1. Pitch is fouled back to the stop. Herzog to be followed by Kyle Boudris as the Beacons' top 6. Just 6 guys who can absolutely mash the ball. Not to say that 7, 8, and 9 are struggling in their own right. As Fowler needed to readjust and ask for time down at second base. UMass Boston snapped a string of 4 consecutive games with double-digit runs in game 1. Bierfeld pitched extremely well, allowed 3 earned over 8 innings. Then the combination of Kyle Cole and Taylor D'Onofrio ended it in the 9th. But the Beacons got even better pitching from J.T. Morin, Mike Doherty, and Bobby Tramadozzi. 2-2 offering well outside. That's the breaking ball you're looking for, but just couldn't control it, and the count runs full. Beacons will counter Belizna with Fernando Burgos, already sitting at 4-0 in the season. He's got 13 career wins as a junior. The program record is 18. Got a time call once again, and Herzog is stepping back into the box. 3-2, runner on second, 1 down. The 3-2 pitch hit hard out to center. Fowler's going to range away from second base. Now he'll think about heading back, and that ball's caught on the warning track as Fowler's going to have to hold up. Ball was hit far, just short of the triangle in right center, and it's tracked down by the right fielder, who I believe is Campbell out there. And for the second out, are you happy there with Fowler ranging that far away from second? I mean, if he tags up, he's easily at third and maybe still scores if that ball bounces in front of one of those outfielders.
It's a tough call there. It's really runner's discretion. I'm not too upset with it. I mean, he's still in scoring position. He should be scoring on a single here anyway, and I guess we'll see right now.
And he does, as that's a seeing eye single from Kyle Boudris, and we bring up baseball arguments to fill the time, and it doesn't matter when the next batter follows with a base hit. Big hit there for Boudris, who did not have a great game number one. The Beacons with 3 runs in the inning. That last run and all future runs will be unearned after the error by the third baseman Babin that allowed McCormick to reach and score. And now the Beacons are following it up with some hard hit balls, although Cessary's ball will hang up and left. And the Beacons score 3 in the top of the first as Belizna and Victor Rodriguez will just chalk it out. Over on the third base dugout, we head to the bottom of the first. We'll have the starting lineup for Western Connecticut State, the defensive positioning for the Beacons, and the numbers on Fernando Burgos after this commercial break.
Paris changed my life, and I got there through UMass. Those very specific seminal moments in Paris. The subway. A man in a tuxedo walked in, and a woman in a long gown. And it was stunning. It all hit me. It was like a lightning bolt. There was this world of beauty and style that I wanted to be a part of. That was the beginning of the journey. And that all came through the University of Massachusetts. And that was really a key moment for me. That's one of those moments you never forget.
Take a look right now at the Western lineup. Quite a few changes. Bill Bacetto, Brett Shaw, Zach Sager, Cleet LaRusso stay the same at the top. Greg Campbell in there at right field. Joe Daigle in the lineup. Adam Wilson, Jake Babon, Victor Rodriguez. Totally new 7, 8, 9. 4 different starters in there for the Colonials. Take a look at the Beacons defensively. Just the one change in terms of the non-pitchers. Joey Rogers out in center field instead of Wanderson Pinales with Fernando Burgos on the mound. And let's take a look at Fernando Burgos' numbers. We talked about JT Moore having great stuff. Well, Fernando Burgos, slightly different pitcher from the right side, but another guy who has tremendous stuff.
Yeah, and he was the rookie of the year his freshman year, so that stands out a lot. But Fernando, he has an entire arsenal of pitches. He's got a great 2-seam. He's got a good 4-seam to go with it, but his off-speed, man, I mean, like you said, we talked about JT stuff. Fernando, he's just another guy. And that's, let's say, for a lot of the Beacon starters, I mean, they have 3 potential number 1s with JT, Fernando, and Joey Rogers, a center fielder in Game 2, which is great. I mean, it's good to see for the Beacons. But, yeah, Fernando, he commands his pitches very well. He knows what he wants to throw, when to throw it, and it's going to be a good game for him.
Well, and that's so important in the Little East Conference because you not only play your 6 conference doubleheaders, but then you have those 2 midweek games against your LEC rival, which is realistically one of the LEC teams closer to you because you don't want to have a long drive on a midweek day, a Tuesday. But that really does put the pressure on having a good third starter so that you can not automatically drop those 2 games or not have to rely on your offense. Burgos, a guy who's already 4-0 on the season, and that's really impressive. He's only pitched in 6 games, 5 starts, a 2.77 ERA, team best 26 innings pitched, 25 hits, 8 runs in those 26 innings, 21 strikeouts to 13 walks, opponents hitting .250 against him. So he steps in here, and leading off is Bill Bacetto Jr., the shortstop.
I believe Burgos also has a save on the season.
You're correct.
He came in Florida and closed the game out before one of his starts as a little tune-up. So, yeah, I mean, that just proves that Fernando really is just that versatile, and he has the stuff to really just shut it down. Seth
Dorensky joined by Anthony Searles, the former Beacons catcher and the go-to Beacons statistician, seen the majority of the games this year. 1-1 just misses. 2-1. The one issue for Burgos last weekend was a bit of a tight strike zone against Eastern Connecticut State. I think he was charged with 6 walks versus 6 strikeouts. So he went 5+ in an eventual 17-4 Beacons win over the Warriors. Getting my Connecticut State teams wrong. 2-2 now to Bassetto. Try to get you the numbers on all these Western players from game 1 after this first inning as I try to also get the lineup in. Difficult in between games with a little bit less time. That ball is floated out to center. Rogers coming in on it. Long run, and Joey Rogers makes the play for out number 1. Brings up Brett Shaw, the center fielder, who started in the 2-hole in both games. He's the only guy who's crossed the plate today for Western Connecticut State. Singled out to right field and came in on a Cleet LaRusso RBI single. As the top 4 hitters for Western were the only players who had hits in game number 1, all singles. 3 of them, though, were back-to-back-to-back in the first as part of the only inning that Western scored in. They fell behind 2-0 in the top of the first, just like this game on a Dave Murphy home run. Cut it to 2-1, and the Beacons added a big insurance run in the 6th on a Chris Fowler double. Sager behind the count 0-2. And Kevin Kelly coming out to retrieve the ball, but also pointing. Kevin Kelly never stops moving as he tries to get his outfield position exactly the way he wants it. When you talk about a really good fielding team, a big part of that is scouting. 0-2, down the middle but low, 1-2.
Yeah, Kevin Kelly, he takes pride in his defensive positionings. He does move the guys a lot, and it does work out the majority of the times. I've never really seen Kevin Kelly shift, get beat. I mean, it eventually will happen. It's baseball, but Kevin Kelly does take pride, and once again, it works again for the Beacons.
Yeah, Rogers was just a foot or two towards the right field line of center field, and that ball tailed right to him. Only had to take a couple steps. Back-to-back flyouts to center, and it's Zach Sager, the 3-hole hitter, to step up. Burgos, a local guy out of Boston, Massachusetts, attended O'Brien High School. And he's looking to continue a hot start to the season. He was the Beacons' 3rd pitcher as a freshman, earned LEC Rookie of the Year honors after just putting together a phenomenal year. Last season, he was kind of a 3/4 guy. Joey Rogers picked up some big starts ahead of Burgos, but both guys were starters in the conference tournament, the regional tournament, and Burgos got the call in game number 3 of the College World Series. The Beacons only made it through 3 games out in Appleton. 1-1 pitch is hit right back off of Burgos. Murphy has to change direction, throws it across, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Fernando. Hopefully he's okay.
The University of Massachusetts Boston. It's just minutes from downtown, and the Princeton Review calls it one of the best values in the country. A nationally recognized institution of academic excellence and research, UMass Boston offers more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 Division III sports, and more than 100 student organizations. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online. UMass Boston, a research university with a teaching soul.
Joey Rogers leads off. Actually, should be Anthony. No, it's Joey Rogers. I'm off by a batter. Joey Rogers to be followed by Charlie Hughey in the top of the order. Anthony Cesare ended the last half inning. And I was 1 off on my scorecard. Another ball that is floated out to left, and another play for Cleet LaRusso, who's made back-to-back plays in the outfield behind George Belizna, and there are 2 outs. 1 out in the inning. Not a great start to the top of the second for Seth Dorensky right now. Just going to point that out before you do.
It's been a long day here, Seth.
You know, a lot of it's difficult for people to recognize just how long one of these baseball doubleheaders is unless you've played in it. 0-1 to Hughie, the 9-hole hitter. The teams get here, well, at least the Beacons on a home day, as that one is also on the outside corner with breaking ball 0-2. I got here at 10. Team was already well warmed up. Hughie hits it softly over the third baseman, who once again can't handle it. And Bassetto, don't know if he was going to have a play anyways. And that is going to be the second error of the game on Babin over there at third base. So Hughie aboard at first base after the error. That first error on Babin led to a Beacons run. We'll see if the Beacons can make the Colonials pay even more. It's Eddie Riley, who's not had his greatest day, but it really hasn't mattered. The Beacons' pitching and defense has been enough to cover up for an offense that hasn't been clicking on all cylinders just yet.
Eddie had a much better first at bat in this game too. He had a couple flyouts, and you can see he's changed his approach a little bit, maybe adjusted a little bit. And his first at bat, he hit a nice ground ball to second base. So that's a good adjustment. Now you just got to find the in between and get that line drive to start feeling good.
Yeah, certainly Dave Murphy has provided more than enough offense. The Beacon second baseman with a pair of 2-run homers, both coming in the first inning. How big is that, not just for a pitcher, but as for a team, to jump out to that early run, to see those runs on the board, see the early lead, and really feed off that for the rest of the game?
Early runs are always a great turnout for the team.
Miscommunication. Belizna's not going to have a play as he and Babin were looking at each other multiple times. Neither player went for the ball, and Eddie Riley, who's got a ton of pop, picks up a bunt single ahead of McCormick, and then if it gets that far, potentially Dave Murphy with the bases juiced.
The catcher, number 16, Ryan McCormick.
McCormick hits it right back up the middle. Diving effort from Daigle knocks it down. They get the runner at second. A great effort from the man who started game 1 at third. Knocks it down. And the runner going from first to second, Riley, is retired on the fielder's choice, 4-6. So the Beacons with runners at the corners for Murphy. And again, I ask you, Anthony Searles, do you give Murphy a pitch to hit after that 2-run homer? Fowler's hit well. I mean, let's be honest. He's already got an RBI. He's got a single and a run scored, but Murphy's already gone long twice today and has hit 4 home runs in his last 6 at-bats. Rips one to left. That one is going to be on the line. Fair ball. Murphy's got 3 RBI in the game. McCormick's going to be held up at third, and Murphy has a double and a homer and 3 RBI, and we're not even through an inning and a half.
So I guess the correct answer to your question would be no. You shouldn't give him something to hit.
Well, no, you shouldn't give him something to hit, but also, yes, Western Connecticut State will in this situation.
Yeah.
And again, Western has given up another unearned run. They should have been out of the inning. 2 of the 4 runs thus far have been unearned.
Tough part about that, though, is
Make it 3.
even with Murphy so hot, even if you do put him on, you still have Fowler on deck. I mean, he's still an absolute threat. He could be 0 for 3 in a game, and still that 4th at bat is still a scary one for any pitcher. I mean, a preseason All-American, honorable mention All-American last year. He can flat out hit with the best of them. So I mean, bases loaded for him. It's still a tough call there.
Fowler had a single past the diving Daigle in the first inning and came in to score after a stolen base and an RBI single from Boudris. Belizna not getting a ton of help from his defense, and that ball's ripped, and it's going to be at least 1, make it 2 more runs. Fowler's thinking 2, maybe more. A long run out there for Shaw. It's all the way into the triangle, and Chris Fowler has a single and a triple, and he has 2 RBI. The Beacons have blown this game open with 6 runs in the first 2 innings.
You said it.
6-0 UMass Boston. The inning's not over.
The right fielder, number 34, Nick Herzog.
These are the beacons you're really used to seeing here, especially at home. I mean, we talked about the tremendous record at home.
That's another run as Daigle couldn't make the play. We're going to go with an error on Daigle. Belizna has not had a ton of help behind him, and immediately he kind of threw up his hands on that last play. We'll take another look at it here in the press box once we get the highlights from the past couple plays, just to see how difficult of a play that was for Daigle, who would have, if he had just made the catch on the high bounce, would have easily gotten Herzog over at first base. Beacons have scored 4 runs in this inning, and none of them have been earned runs. That's the tough part if you're Belizna. In fact, he's only given up the 1 earned run, as that was on the home run for Murphy. Take a look at that play. Throw down to second. It's not in time. Herzog able to get in there with Basetto unable to make the play. So Herzog reaches on an error and steals second. The Beacon's already 2 for 2 on the base pass, and he is a runner in scoring position, a 2-0 count to Boudris, who, what has he done today in Game 2? A single up the middle and an RBI. Beacons really have, 1 through 6, they've been terrorizing Belizna, especially a couple errors. That ball is caught by the first baseman, Wilson, and that'll end the inning, but not before the Beacons score 4 unearned runs. UMass Boston with a double, a triple, and reaching on a single, a double, and a triple in the inning. They've hit through for the cycle through an inning and a half.
Celebrate the soggy shoes and the slow starts. Celebrate the lessons learned along the way. These are the wins. Not the shiny, nail-biting kind. These are the last a lifetime kind.
Four, 5, 6 for the Colonials, who desperately need to get the bats going. Already down 7 runs against the Beacons team that had scored 10+ in 4 in a row prior to their Game 1, where they were held to 3 runs. Burgos, for the second consecutive week, out to a big lead. Last week, he came on, his team was already leading 6-0 after 1. Today, it's 7-0 after 1.5. How does that change the pitcher's mentality at all? I mean, I know that you as a catcher, you weren't in that situation, but you were working with your pitchers. You were trying to know exactly what was going on in their minds. How do you change your focus, if at all, with a big lead like this?
For the Beacons pitching staff, especially Fernando, I don't think it changed much at all. Honestly, he has a one-track mind. He's going out there. He's got the bulldog mentality. He goes out there like it's a 0-0 game every time. I think the toughest thing about the Beacons scoring so many runs, you love to see it. It's just the fact if Burgos sits too long, how uncomfortable it can make him, or how tight he could get. But again, Fernando, he's a bulldog. He's going out there with a 0-0 game mindset, with the game on the line every time, and he's going to get it done no matter what.
Burgos ahead in the count, 0-1 to LaRusso, who fouls it back. 1-2-3 inning for Burgos, in which he was hit on a comebacker for the final out, but appears to be okay. Burgos came in as a pitcher/shortstop, pretty active guy who moves well. The other good news is that while Burgos has had to sit during 2 scoring innings, it's not like George Belizna is pitching slowly. He hasn't issued a walk, hasn't been behind in a lot of counts, just a couple errors behind him and the 6 Beacons hits. Murphy ranges towards first base, makes the grab, and throws it across. 4 batters, 4 outs against Fernando Burgos, and we'll see Campbell step to the plate for the first time here in Game 2.
The right fielder, number 44,
Campbell came on and pinch hit in game number 1. It's one of the team's top hitters. In fact, the top hitter statistically amongst regulars. 391 average. He's 9 of 24. 5 runs, a double, 2 triples, and 6 RBI. Making his 8th start in 11 total appearances. Just an example of a guy who's trying to earn a little bit more playing time. Fouls that one off 0-2. And you have to love it from Burgos. Immediately coming off a 4-run inning. Maybe you're a little bit tight. Each of his first 5 pitches have been strikes to start this second frame.
Fernando's a guy who throws a ton of strikes anyway, but it's definitely, like you said, it's definitely great to see. I mean, that goes hand in hand with the Bulldog mentality. Fernando's trying to go all 9. Every start he's out there, and he's been a guy that's been very durable. He's extended his outings, and he's been phenomenal, but that's just his mentality.
1-2 now to Campbell, who actually started his career at Franklin Pierce, a D2 powerhouse. Did not play there, just spent first semester before transferring to Western last as a freshman. Appeared in 6 games, went 1 for 6. This year, much more successful, hitting just under 400 coming in as he asked for time. On the season, he has 3 2-hit games and has had 2 RBI in 2 of those 3 games. Went 1 for 3 with the run scored and an RBI, along with 2 walks in Game 2 against Keene State last Saturday. Takes a fastball down the middle. Campbell couldn't believe it, but that's probably one of the easier strike 3 looking calls we've seen today, as we're starting to get a glimpse of what the strike zone will be from James Fonseca here in Game 2.
That may seem like an easy call from up here, but I'm telling you from a catcher standpoint and definitely a hitter standpoint, I'm guaranteeing Fernando threw a 2-seam there. It really just caught the batter off guard right there.
Brings up Joe Daigle. Started game 1 at third base, is playing in second here in game number 2. Made a great diving effort to keep the ball in the infield and ended up as a fielder's choice back in the top of the second. It's quickly 0-2. Daigle fouling the pitch off his foot. Beacons with 7 runs on 6 hits and no errors. Western, no runs, no hits, 3 errors. And those 3 errors have been costly, leading to 6 unearned runs. Not the kind of start Western was looking for. They try to avoid a 5-game losing streak. Swung on and just foul tip. Daigle was well out ahead, able to stay alive. And we could see Burgos off camera, fortunately, wasn't too happy. He thought he had strike 3 there. But a nice piece of hitting from Daigle to just stay alive. Long look in from Fernando. 0-2. Hits softly back to the pitcher. Past Burgos. Tough play. Hugie charges. Throw across. Bounces in there. And he's out. Great effort from Hugie and Fowler. And Western goes down 1-2-3 for the second consecutive inning. A slow forming play, but the Beacons get through it. We head to the third. The Beacons lead 7-0.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, and I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
Really quickly before we get to the top of the third, let's take a look around the rest of the conference. Keene State and Eastern underway right now in Game 1. Their games got pushed back, probably doing a little bit of work on that field down in Eastern. UMass Boston at 3-0. Plymouth State sees Rick come back, so Rhode Island College is at 2-1 along with Plymouth State and Southern Maine. Keene State looking to go 3-0. UMass Boston is in a UMass Dartmouth should be 1-2 because Southern Maine came back. So UMass Dartmouth at 0-3, Eastern at 0-2, Western at 0-3. It's just phenomenal news for the Beacons team, although Southern Maine is just a game back. 2 of the 3 teams that were picked right behind the Beacons in Eastern and UMass Dartmouth are off to really slow starts. And even if you're Western Connecticut State, it's probably good news as well, as there's a couple other teams who are off to slow starts. Western couple wins could get them right back into a spot where they could qualify for the 6-team LEC tournament. Anthony Cesare, Joey Rogers, and Charlie Hughey up to start the third. As Cesare sends a deep fly ball, but Shaw has plenty of space towards the deepest part of the ballpark. And Cesare is retired for the second time. Flew out to left, flew out to center. Brings up Rogers, who flew out to left to start the second. The Beacons have 7 runs through the first 2 frames. Only one of those runs is earned. UMass Boston is hit for the cycle on their 6 hits. A couple singles, a double, a triple, and a home run. Rogers takes a fastball on the outside half, and Joey sort of coming around, had 2 hits and 2 at-bats coming on as a defensive replacement against Worcester State on Thursday. Beacon's just looking to get him to get hot as Bassetto takes it on 2 hops, throws it across, and that is a clean play from the shortstop. A big play for Western Connecticut State's confidence as they've struggled on a couple of these somewhat routine plays on the infield.
Going back to Joey Rogers a little bit. Beacons were very high on him in the fall. He was one of their top hitters. So they have a lot of hope for him. He's just got to get hot. It's tough. I mean, he's pitching too, so him pitching and trying to focus on hitting as well. He's just got to see a couple fall, and he'll roll into a groove.
0-1, make it 0-2. A breaking ball that backdoors its way into the strike zone. Blizna looking for a 1-2-3 frame here in the third. Knifed out to right. This one is going to fall in front of the right fielder. And Charlie Hughey's thinking, too. The right fielder, a difficult play. And Hughey takes advantage of maybe a little bit of indecision, maybe a little bit of a lack of hustle from Campbell out there, who took the slow, circuitous route to get behind the ball. Charlie Hughey's got himself a double. He's reached twice. First on an error, now on a double, and he's in scoring position for Eddie Riley.
That's exactly what you expect out of Charlie Hughey. He doesn't take anything for granted. He's always hustling. He's always diving in the field, even if it may not be in his range. He's always giving effort. So that's something you really expect, and that's a great job with 2 down already to turn around the order and get on second in scoring position for Eddie Riley.
Now, how much of that is Dan Gamble, the Beacons pitching coach / first base coach, and how much of that is Hughey just kind of going on his own?
A lot of it is Hughey. Hughey, like I said, is a gritty player, but Dan Gamble, he's definitely pushing that as well. He's expecting you to be on second there. He's definitely yelling in your ear if you're not, so you better get there.
Campbell makes the play out in right, so the extra base taken by Hughey doesn't come back to hurt the Colonials. Through 2.5, the Beacons lead it 7-0. We'll bring you a look around the rest of the conference in game number 2s, maybe even late game 1s, back in the top of the 4th.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
UMass Boston through 2.5. We just got a chance to look into that UMass Dartmouth Southern Maine game a little bit more. Southern Maine came back and scored a couple runs in the 8th, and I think it was 2, maybe 3 runs in the 10th to earn a win down at UMass Dartmouth. That's big. UMass Dartmouth was looking like one of the top teams in the conference. They have one of the top pitching staffs in the conference, but unable to hold off Southern Maine. Remember, Bob Prince, the Dartmouth head coach, a Southern Maine alum, those games are typically some of the most heated conference games in the Little East Conference. We've got Burgos to face off against 7-8-9 here in the third. It's Adam Wilson, the first baseman. Remember, this is a completely new 7-8-9 for the Colonials here in game number 2. Wilson to lead off, and he takes a fastball on the outside half. Burgos at least the last 4 batters has found strike 1, and I think he's probably found strike 1 to maybe 7 of the first 8. 0-1. Low fastball, make it 0-2 for the 4 straight batter. Not easy when it's you're a guy like Adam Wilson who hasn't taken a swing all day. 0-2, chopped lazily over to third. Riley ranges in front of Hughie to throw across. It's high, but Fowler holds the bag. And there's 1 out here in the 3rd.
I think that's the biggest thing, Seth, with Game 2 is no BP. So you got to take some dry hacks. I mean, there's a cage out there and behind the bullpens, but sometimes you just want to get on the field and see it fly a little bit. And it really sucks not having BP or any really warm-up to get in there and then have to face a guy like Burgos.
Shane Babin, the third baseman who's already been charged with a pair of errors that have led to run scoring, steps in from the left side. A rare ball 1 from Burgos. The 1-0 is on the inside half, 1-1. Jake Babin, excuse me, not Shane, freshman, 6'3", 180 out of Southington, Connecticut. 1-1 with 1 down, swung on and missed. Burgos trying for his 3rd consecutive 1-2-3 inning to start game number 2. Looking at Babin, just his 5th appearance, first career start, 0-1 on the year. So John Soucy trying to turn things around here in game 2 with a different looking lineup. And thus far, Babin not having the greatest of first collegiate starts.
And that goes hand in hand, like we were talking about game 2, no BP. I mean, not really playing and having to jump in an LEC game is definitely not the easiest thing to do. We were talking about LEC play being very tough, especially against this Beacon staff who could fill it up but has good off speed. It's a challenge for any hitter in the LEC.
Well, and the nice thing is, if you're a pitcher, you do have time to warm up. You know that you've got 30 minutes in between games, and unless it's a really close game, which game 1 was, 3-1, you also have a little bit of extra time where you can start stretching. Once it gets to the 8th or 9th inning, you'll have the full amount of time to warm up. As a position player, unless coach tells you, hey, you're starting game number 2, you don't necessarily know until 15, 20 minutes before. You just have to kind of work on it your own.
There's also the JV field behind the bullpen, so I mean, if a game 2 starter really needs a longer time, they could always go out there and stretch and get the arm loose. So that is the advantage for a pitcher in game 2 rather than the hitter.
2-2, just a little bit low. Long frame job there by Ryan McCormick, but he doesn't get the call for his pitcher. And this is possibly the first full count that we've seen Burgos face here against Jake Babin, who's taking a good approach in just his 2nd career at bat. Fouls that one back. At least he's making Burgos work, who has only thrown 34 pitches through 2 1/3 innings. It's a really good sign. We saw both pitchers in game 1. They were in the 45-50 range in the 2nd inning after both teams scored runs in the top and bottom of the 1st in game 1. Babin rips it down the right field line. Is it going to stay fair? No. Babin hooked it just a little bit. And he will now face his 8th pitch of the at-bat.
This is definitely a good at-bat here. Getting Burgos to throw some more pitches, hopefully get his pitch count up. Hopefully Westcon can continue this. And, I mean, they would like to see Burgos out of here early. And right now, this at-bat right here has been a few pitches, so Burgos probably isn't too happy about it, but he's going to bulldog through here.
3-2, swung on and missed, an 8-pitch at-bat. That's the positive, but he does go down swinging. 2nd strikeout for Burgos, first by way of the swinging strikeout. Burgos has thrown over 80% of his pitches thus far for strikes. 36 pitches, 29 for strikes, just attacking this Westcon order. I'm going to bring up Victor Rodriguez, guy who started game 2 in back-to-back conference weekends behind the plate as Sager moves to the DH spot. So they'll keep Sager in, but Victor Rodriguez gets to catch George Belizna quickly behind 0-1 to the EastCon transfer, make it 0-2. A swinging strike there. Victor, another player out of Connecticut, Torrington. Played 3 games at EastCon as a freshman. Stands at 6'1", 210. 0-2 pitch to him. Oh, the inside corner, strike 3. Burgos has gone 9 up, 9 down, and it's not even taken him 40 pitches. We head to the 4th. See if UMass Boston can tack on to their lead as they are all over Western Connecticut State to start game number 2.
Cheer for the stumbles. The he shoulda had that's. And the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There, you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
Take a look around the rest of the conference from game number 1. Southern Maine came back to earn an 8-3 win. They were trailing, I think, 3-1 early. So that's a big win over UMass Dartmouth. The last time we checked in at Rhode Island College, it was Plymouth State leading 3-2. Rhode Island College ends up scoring 7 of the last 8 runs. Keene State and Eastern Connecticut State, a matchup of 2-0 Keene State and 0-2 Eastern Connecticut State. Typically it'd be the other way around. That's 3-3 in the bottom of the 6th as that game started significantly later than any of the other games. We'll bring you another look around the conference, maybe in the 6th inning when we've got some more scores from around the rest of the LEC. I think we were the first game to end in game number 1. This game took just about 2.5 hours, whereas most of the other games went at least 3 hours. So they're probably earlier on in game number 2. Ryan McCormick flares it out to left. LaRusso, who's seen a lot of action here in game 2, makes yet another play. As LaRusso already, if I can track it down, I think that's 3 flyouts to left, and he's seen a couple of other balls go over his head or fall in front of him. Brings up Dave Murphy, who's the man of the hour. Murphy's got 2 home runs on the day, also added a double down the left field line in his last at-bat. In this game, he's 2 for 2 with 2 extra base hits and 3 RBIs. Belizna will start him with a soft breaking ball on the outside half for strike 1. Belizna, a long look. And Murphy will rip that one out to left, but not going to be deep enough. LaRusso doesn't even have to move. I think anytime Murphy swings at this point, I'm expecting it to go a little bit further than it might, as that one got just off the end of the bat. And a pair of quick outs for Belizna, who, despite giving up 7 runs and 7 hits here through 3 2/3 innings, has only thrown 48 pitches.
And this is a big at-bat here for Fowler with 2 quick outs. Even though, despite the score, you're up 7 runs, you want to try and extend the inning here. Fowler's been hot, a couple doubles, so this is going to be a big at-bat here for Fowler. Kind of slow him down, get the tempo going UMass's way here. Maybe a base knock, just a long at-bat, something going for the Beaks here.
Quickly 0-2 to Fowler, who has singled, stolen a base, scored, tripled, and scored. So not a bad day. He's also got a pair of RBI. UMass Boston, their top 4 really have just mashed the ball here in game number 2. Fowler reaches out, pokes it over to Bassetta, who catches the line drive. Beacons go quietly in the 4th, the first inning that they haven't put on a base runner against Belizna. We head to the bottom of the 4th. Well, Belizna's pitching better. Can the bats pick him up? They have really hurt him with their defense with 3 errors, and they've yet to get anything going against Fernando Burgos.
The University of Massachusetts Boston, with its scenic oceanfront campus, easily accessible to downtown Boston, is recognized as a model of excellence for urban public universities. 16 NCAA Division III sports are part of the more than 100 student organizations that create an engaging campus life in America's biggest and best college town. UMass Boston, Boston's urban public research university.
Top of the order for the Colonials in the fourth. Still looking for their first base runner against Fernando Burgos. Basetto, Shaw, and Sager. Western Connecticut State looking to try to get something going. They were in each of their first 3 conference games. After the 6th inning, they were tied in both games against Keene State, in which they lost it 3-2 and 10 in Game 1 last Saturday in a home game that was played at Keene State, and then 10-4 in Game 2. Even Game 1 today, the Beacons won 3-1, but it was 2-1 after 1, and the Beacons didn't add an insurance run until the 6th. The Colonials had some base runners throughout the game. They just couldn't necessarily do anything, limited to just 4 singles. This game, not so much. Beacons led 3-0 after 1, 7-0 after 2. And thus far, the Colonials batters have yet to put a base runner on. Basetto started the game by flying out to center. He's ahead 2-1 in the count. 2-1, make it 2-2, catches the inside corner. And Basetto, like we've seen a lot of Colonials batters all day, will step out of the batter's box, a little bit annoyed by the call, and then we'll step back in. Not much more you can do. 2-2, a little bit low there, count runs full.
Not to give any excuses here for the Western Connecticut hitters, but that seems to be a big thing. They haven't agreed with some of the strike calls that they've gotten against them, and they could really take you out of that bat.
3-2 pitch. This one will get down in front of Herzog out there in right center. The Beacons were playing Basetto to pull the ball, and that's the first base hit and first base runner of game number 2, a leadoff single here to start the 4th. Brings up Brett Shaw, who flew out to center as well. Western, typically you wouldn't think about playing small ball down 7, but maybe do you push him over, trying to get Zach Sager and Cleet LaRusso up, just try to get one run across?
Yeah, with this part of the order, I would agree there, especially the way Burgos is pitching. I mean, they just got their first base runner on that base hit. So you want to try and kind of push a run across, maybe get a little momentum swaying your way, especially with Beacons going down 1-2-3 this last half inning. You can definitely change some momentum and flip the script pretty quick in an LAC game if you get one run across.
There's a rare call that goes against Burgos, a breaking ball that just missed on the outside corner. 1-1 with the runner on first base to Shaw, who swings and misses at the breaking ball. Shaw in game number 1 finished 1 for 4 with the run scored, singled in the first, and then was retired in each of his final 3 at-bats, including a strikeout. Flew out to center, back in the first, one of the team's top hitters. They are a little bit top-heavy as a team. Ball fouled down the third base side, and it stays at 1-2. Beacons looking for their 11th consecutive Little East Conference regular season win. Something the Beacons have never done before. Won 3 in a row to start this season. Won their last 7 to end the 2017 regular season title and went on to win the LEC tournament title. Hit right back up the middle. Murphy, a sliding plate, tags the bag himself. A jump throw, and it's just off the bag. Beacons will get a fielder's choice. I'm not sure if Murphy would have gotten Shaw either way, but a nice play by Murphy just to get to the ball. The Beacons get the lead runner. So Murphy continues to show off his abilities at second base, playing at second for the first time in his career after playing at shortstop his first couple of seasons. Injured last season, Charlie Hughey took over and covers a ton of ground at short. Brings up Zach Sager, who's in the DH spot for game 2. Pops that one out to shallow right. Should get down over Murphy and just barely does. Murphy, though, a great play to barehand that one and nearly got the ball in behind the runner Shaw at second base. Keeps the runners at first and second rather than runners at the quarters.
Saw this a little in game 1 too, when JT gave up a little fisted single to right field. So hopefully Burgos can keep himself composed. Understand it's just part of the game. Bleeders are gonna fall. Sometimes it's not gonna fall your way. Bear down and hopefully get a ground ball here and a potential double play.
Well, 4 of the 6 hits today for WestCon have been right-handers flaring it out to right or right center. Hasn't been really good contact from the Colonials, who have struggled all day against the combination of Morin, Doherty, and Trey Mendoza in game 1, and now Burgos here in game 2. The Beacons still have a lot of arms out of the pen available. Guys like Joe McGuire, Alex Carasoto, even Ben Gottesman. If Burgos were to run into some troubles, this ball will come out of play, flared out down the right field side. 1-1 to LaRusso, who had the lone RBI hit in game one. Hit a ball over the head of Riley into left field and easily scored a runner from second base. That was Shaw, who's out there at second right now. Similar situation to the first inning of game one when the Colonials had 3 straight hits with 1 out. This inning they've had a leadoff single, a fielder's choice, and now a single with 1 out, again to put 2 on with 1 down. 1-1 pitch on the inside half, 1-2, and again, LaRusso's not happy about it. Grounded out to second to start the second inning, but there was a pitch in his first at-bat he wasn't happy. You see that grimace. This is the beauty of having those down-low cameras. You can really see the facial expressions, and Cleat is coming off an injury, just not happy with the call. We've seen that so many times, more from Western than UMass Boston, is there's a great breaking ball, and LaRusso's just forced to swing and flail and miss. Strikeout number 4 for Burgos.
That brings up my previous point. I mean, when you don't get a call your way, you end up swinging out of the zone, swinging frustrated, and it's just not good for a hitter. You could see there, I don't think he would have swung if that pitch went the other way.
Well, if it's 2-1 versus 1-2, you don't have to protect in that situation.
Right. And he's getting frustrated, so he's just swinging to protect, and Burgos' slider just came across the plate and then just ran out more than expected. But you're not going to see that swing unless that strike is called.
Campbell struck out looking his first time up. He's heading the count 2-0. Came on as a pinch hitter in game number 1. And if I get my pinch hitters right, I believe he grounded out to the first baseman, Fowler, back in the 9th. Working against Bobby Tramondosi, who has equally dirty breaking stuff. The Beacons have a ton of pitchers with really good off-speed stuff. Is that slider just a little bit too far inside? 3-0. First base, third base is open with Joe Daigle due up next. That the Beacons don't want to give in to the right fielder who came in hitting .391 on the season. Nice thing is with the 7-0 lead, you don't have to worry as much about giving in this spot. 3-0 pitch. On the outside corner, 3-1. How big is a run right now for Western Connecticut State? Already losing the first one, losing 4 in a row, down 7-0 right now to just get a little bit of confidence.
At this point, I'd say you need it, honestly. Get guys going a little bit. I mean, that's a huge walk right there. Bases loaded here. I would say you absolutely need at least 1 out of this situation. Whether it be a hit, a walk,
hit by pitch, an error.
Yeah, anything at this point. But you really do need at least 1 in this situation, because leaving the bases loaded is just it just drains you. And only 2 hits against Burgos. You need something here.
Didn't have a base runner their first time through the order. They've had a pair of singles and a walk here in the 4th to load up the bases for Joe Daigle, the senior out of Salington. Third-year starter, does have 5 RBI in the season. Came in hitting .300 on the day. Did not have a hit in that first game. 0-1 to Daigle is hit over to the shortstop, Hugie. He'll go the short way to second, and the Beacons leave the bases loaded in the 4th, and a fist pump from Burgos. We head to the 5th. UMass Boston leads 7-0 over the host Colonials.
Division III allows you to give yourself to other things.
Having that free time allows me to pursue the things that I want to pursue.
Division III athletics affords students the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport.
It allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
I walked by at 10, I was like, that field is not going to be playable in 3 hours. At least we don't have to be here tomorrow. UMass Boston will go 5, 6, 7 in inning number 5. Herzog, Boudris, and Cesare. This part of the order hasn't done as much. Boudris with the lone hit for the Beacons as Herzog shows bunt, pulls it back. Herzog flew out to right and reached on an error by the second baseman, stole second, and was left there in the second. Already the third trip to the plate here in the 5th inning. Fouls one off, and he's quickly behind 0-2. Despite his struggles, and remember, 6 of these 7 runs are unearned, Belizna has thrown 54 pitches, 41 for strikes here through 4+ innings. Both he and Burgos are peppering the strike zone, as this should be an easy first out. Campbell fighting the sun, and he'll hold on for out number 1 of the 5th. Does this change your approach at all if you know that realistically 9 out of 10 times you're going to see a strike on that first pitch, or certainly a strike on that second pitch, that you have to go up and attack?
I don't believe so, Seth. I mean, you still got to stay with your approach, because if you get into some bad habits, it's just going to change around everything. If you get your pitch, absolutely go for it. But, I mean, then again, despite the score, you still got to play like it's a close game, because you never know what can happen in an LEC game.
It's 1-0 to Boudris, who grounds over to the third baseman, and he's going to be retired 3U for the second consecutive at-bat after singling up the middle, an RBI single in the first. It'll bring up Anthony Cesare, who's flown out to left, flown out to center. I wonder if Greg Campbell is going to see some more work out and right. Of course, that sounds like a thing in my head, but the chances of Cesare hitting the ball out to right are just as likely as hitting it to left or hitting it to center. First pitch to Cesare is off the corner, low, 1-0. In fact, probably even lower, as he's already hit it out to left and center. It's the 1-0 pitch to Cesare is hit out to left center. Coming in is Shaw, going out as a shortstop, and making the play is the left fielder. The Bermuda Triangle, and all 3 guys inches away from each other. A nice running play from Cleet LaRusso. Beacons have gone down 1-2-3 in back-to-back innings. Belizna's pitching well. Can his teammates find something against Burgos?
I'm a Division III student athlete, and I know how powerful words can be. The term gay doesn't mean stupid, lame, or less than.
So I pledge to speak up if I hear the term gay used in a derogatory way or any other homophobic terms.
If you can play in Division III.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and my teammates unconditionally accepted me as part of their family. So now I pledge to do the same for others. If you can play in Division III.
Seven, 8, 9 come up for the second time in 3 innings. The Colonials sent 6 hitters to the plate in the 4th, but left the bases loaded, a pair of singles and a walk. See if they can carry that momentum into the 5th, as it'll be Wilson followed by Babin and Rodriguez. Colonials went down 1-2-3 their first 3 innings. And now it'll be Burgos, who's given up just the 2 hits and a walk. Right now, if he can get through this inning, he will be in line for his 5th win in 6 starts. Pretty impressive, and he would be in line for his 14th win as a Beacon, passing Kyle Zatrowski, a former Beacons ace, and closing in a little bit closer to the all-time record of 18 career wins. Beacons could potentially have, by the end of this season, the program record holder in home runs, in saves, and wins, all on the same team.
And I really would not be surprised at any of that.
Burgos has a hard comebacker hit right at him, knocks it down with the glove, underhands it over to first. Second time that Burgos has been hit, but both times he's shrugged off the play and made the play.
You know what? I think Burgos might actually lead Beacons in line drives back at him. In my few years playing with him, I've seen Fernando get hit in the leg, the foot, the shin a good amount of times. He's going to lead the program in that as well.
Well, that's not a stat we keep. But do you think there's anything that specifically leads to that, or is that just kind of a happenstance kind of thing?
Nah, I think it just happens. And Fernando's an athlete. He came in here as a shortstop and a pitcher, so he could field it. But yeah, no, I think some guys just catch some pitches and they just go right up the middle and right at him. But he does a good job of fielding his position, so he'll be all right.
The good thing is both of these balls that have been hit back at Burgos, they've been hit decently hard, but not like very hard line drives that could potentially break a bone or leave a big bruise. It's now 1-2 to Babin, who had an 8-pitch strikeout back in the third, one of 3 strikeout victims thus far. Burgos is almost as efficient as Belizna, 69 pitches, 51 for strikes. These guys are both throwing strike-to-ball ratio of about 3, maybe even close to 4-1. 2-2 to Babin, making his first collegiate start. He's committed 2 errors over at third base. He'd love to get on here, try to back his pitcher Belizna, who's pitched well, as he fouls off another pitch. If nothing else, he's worked a couple of counts. UMass Boston will be back in action against Brandeis early in the week. That game's scheduled for Tuesday at Brandeis, but the weather supposed to be rainy Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so the Beacons might move that game to Monday. And there's a swing and a foul tip. Babin making Burgos work, potentially cutting into Burgos' innings today, although the Beacons have a pretty fresh bullpen after Game 1 when they were forced to use Tramandozzi for an inning and a third and Doherty for just 2/3 of an inning. Tons of fresh arms for UMass Boston. 2-2 pitch, swung on and missed. Babin's worked a couple of good at-bats, but he struck out both times. And that is strikeout number 4 for Burgos versus just 1 walk. Brings up Victor Rodriguez, who struck out looking to end the third. Fernando looks to win his 2nd consecutive conference game to start the season. Trying to match JT Morin, who's 2-0 in conference, 2-1 on the season. Rodriguez takes a pitch a little bit too far inside, might have been low as well. Victor on the season, this is his 6th start, hitting .375 coming in, 6 for 16 with a run scored and 3 RBI. Swings and misses, nearly fully turned around on that one, 1-1. He's got a double, 4 strikeouts and a walk. Last Saturday at Keene in a home game, he went 0 for 3 with a walk and 2 strikeouts. 1-2, flared over the head of Hughie. That's going to get down. And Western now has 7 hits on the day. All 7 have been singles. It's the first for anybody towards the bottom of the orders. The first 6 hits of the day had all come from the hitters 1 through 4 in the order. Nice piece of 2-out hitting. It'll bring up Bill Bassetto Jr. for the 2nd time in as many innings. He singled out to right center and was eliminated on a fielder's choice in the 4th. Bassetto with 2 hits on the day, tied for the team high. If Bassetto were to reach, Brett Shaw is in the on-deck circle. 0 for 2 in this one. Did have a hit in Game 1. 0-1 pitch. Nearly catches him, and they're going to say it did. First hit by pitch for Burgos. And there's 2 on with 2 outs for Shaw, who was flown out to center and reached on a fielder's choice as Dave Murphy made a nice diving effort and then tagged the bag trying to turn a double play. Chance for the sophomore center fielder to create something here. Colonials left the bases loaded in the 4th, trying to get on the board for the first time since the bottom of the 1st inning in Game 1. That's how long it's been. Colonials scored at about, 12:25, and it's now 4:10 on the East Coast, and they haven't scored in close to 4 hours. Beacons on the opposite side scored one more run in game 1 and 7 in the first 2 innings here in game 2 to jump out to a huge lead. Burgos, 60 strikes in 80 pitches.
That's what you expect from Burgos. He's a guy in his career who's always thrown a ton of strikes. And it goes both sides of this game. Both starting pitchers have thrown a ridiculous amount of strikes and have throughout their careers.
I mean, 3-1 is a very good ratio. And right now, Burgos, the only issue is 80 pitches, probably has 1, maybe 2 more innings, depending on how much of a leash Brendan Egerbrook gives him. Strike 3 swinging. For the second consecutive inning, the Colonials put runners on, but they leave 2 more. 5 strikeouts for Burgos, including a big one to get Shaw. We head to the 6th. UMass Boston still holding on to a 3-0 lead.
What separates UMass Boston from other schools is the fact that a large percentage of students commute. For me, it takes 2 hours each day to go to and from school, but every second has been worth it because the students that come here are serious about learning, they value their education, and understand where it'll take them in the future. This is what UMass Boston means to me.
UMass Boston, we mentioned that Brandeis game scheduled for Tuesday at 3 on the road. Brandeis' field, a dirt field, so probably won't be able to take the rain. That game might be moved up to Monday, even possibly here at Monon Park. The Beacons might pick up yet another road game. So we're going to see a new player out there defensively. I believe it's the second baseman. As it's always difficult. It's going to be number 9 out there at second base. So Western Connecticut State will end the day of Daigle, and it's Dante Postorino, junior second baseman out of Huntington, New York. So Postorino makes his first appearance of the day. He's out there for Daigle, who will end his game number 2, 0 for 2 with a pair of groundouts. And it's always interesting to see at what point during a conference doubleheader a coach will go to their reserves, trying to get guys some appearances. Especially when you see so many big comebacks in conference play. You don't want to pull someone too early. Joey Rogers to lead off, flares it up the middle, and there's a big hit for Joey Rogers, his first in 3 trips to the plate here in game 2. And he's a leadoff base runner. Just the first leadoff base runner for UMass Boston in 6 innings against Belizna. So they got 7 runs in the first 2 innings, but unable to put the leadoff guy aboard.
Now let's put your coaching cap on here, Seth.
I love putting the coaching cap on.
So up 7. It is an LAC game, as we've been saying. No lead is really safe. Do you bunt Hughie here and you get Rogers to second, try and score a run?
I don't bunt Hughie here, but he might bunt himself, which is totally different. I don't bunt Hughie here because I want to see Hughie. He had a double in his last at bat. He's hit the ball hard twice. But also, this is the whole Minnesota Twins situation. Up by enough runs. When do you bunt? When do you not bunt? I feel comfortable with the lead and with the with the top of the order coming up next, and I'm not going to bunt in this particular situation. Also, I mean, I don't know how Brendan Egerbrook thinks of John Soucy, but I'm a huge fan. We've seen John Soucy each of the past 3 years here at Monon Park throughout the LAC tournament, did some interviews with him. I think he's a tremendous guy who's in a tough spot. Not having a home field available in early April when you're playing all these games on the road makes it so difficult, and he's always got a smile on his face. So I don't want to do anything to show up my opponent as Hughie's going to hit into a double play, and I look like a fool. The throw over to first, it's not in time, so that makes it a little bit better. But a fielder's choice nonetheless, thanks to a couple bobbles. But I do think that there is a little bit of a respect thing in that situation where you're playing a conference foe, and if it was 4-0, maybe I'd bunt. 7-0, I'm not as worried about it.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. I just wanted to put the coaching cap on there and see what you thought about that situation there. That's a tough one. I mean, we've been talking about no lead is ever really safe, and if there was a guy to bunt up there, Hughie in this lineup of Game 2 would definitely be the guy to do it.
Hughie, couple of pickoff throws over to first. Belisna's got a pretty good pickoff move. It's almost like a submarine move. But Hughie back in there. He's certainly a guy who might be taking off on his own volition here. One of the Beacon's better base runners as he'll jump back over to first base again. We've seen 3 pickoff throws and no pitches to Eddie Riley. Riley is 1 for 3, had a bunt single back in the second, grounded out to second and flew out to right and the third. And we've got a time from Riley. So that pitch won't count. Riley to be followed by McCormick, and if it gets there, Dave Murphy, who already has a pair of extra base hits and 3 RBI in this game alone, on the day has 2 homers, a double, and 5 RBI. The Beacons have scored just 10 runs, so we're talking about a guy who's done the majority of the damage. Murphy with 2 home runs on the day, 4 home runs in his last 3 games. Runner takes off, breaking ball. Rodriguez from his knees, and it's not in time. Postorino, who's in there, will knock that ball down. So give Hughie credit with the stolen base. And that's the other thing. Do you steal with a 7-run lead? But that's as much on the base runner as it is on the coaching staff. Pitch comes in and catches Eddie Riley, and he's aboard. Just have to hope that he's okay, as that one caught him on the, I believe, the right hand. That's the throwing hand for the Beacons' third baseman, as he appears to be okay. So both pitchers have hit batters in the last 2 frames, and we've got Ryan McCormick stepping up. McCormick has reached on an error and scored. Hit into a fielder's choice and scored and flew out to left. Breaking ball inside, 1-0 to the Beacons catcher, who had 2 hits and 4 at-bats in game number 1 and scored 2 runs. So Ryan McCormick has scored 4 of the Beacons' 10 runs. Sitting in the 2 spot right in front of Dave Murphy is probably a good place to be if you want to get a lot of runs scored. Quickly 2-0 to McCormick out of Cumberland, Rhode Island. 2 on, 1 out. Beacons looking for their first run since the second. Belisna's 2-0 offering, nubbed over to the shortstop. This could be 2. Basetto can't get it out of the glove, and the second baseman, Postorino, can't make the catch. It's been that kind of day for the Colonials behind Belisna. That's not going to go down as an error. The previous play on the fielder's choice won't go down as an error, but they probably could have gotten 2. And already in this inning, Western should have been able to turn 2 double plays. Instead, they're still 2 on with Dave Murphy stepping to the plate. And all I want to do is go out and give George Belisna a hug. I mean, he's pitched so much better than the score is showing right now. Just the 1 earned run. And his defense has let him down.
That's the most frustrating thing, especially as a pitcher. Now he thinks that he has to do it all himself. You can't really trust your defenders. Like you said, there should have been 2 double plays in this inning. He wouldn't even have to face Murphy with runners on, which would be huge.
Runners take off. Murphy fouls it off. Hit and run there, 0-2. Well, you can see the Beacons are not content with 7 runs.
Yeah, no lead is ever safe. We've said it a few times now. I mean, you never really know, especially Weston. I mean, game 1 didn't really show it, but I mean, last year, year before that, they play the Beacons pretty well. It's always been some tough races.
Just a general baseball question. When you talk about a lead is never safe, is there one game you think about? I think about a game from my youth when I think it was Cleveland came back from like an 11 or 12 run deficit against Seattle in a wild game. Is there one game that you think about during your youth or maybe even your college days of a team coming back from a huge deficit?
Honestly, I've seen playing a few games. We had a couple against MIT back-to-back years that were blown saves. Those kind of stick out, but it's always the ones that are blown that really stick out to me. And that's why I always say there's no really safe lead. I mean, 7 here, yeah, I wouldn't even be comfortable with that. And that's why Coach Agabro had both runners moving there. So, I mean, from my time playing anyway, I mean, you're always happy with a 7-run lead, but I've never really thought a game would be over at any point, especially in an LEC conference game.
1-2 pitch, fouled off. If I'm thinking of previous UMass Boston blown games. I think of the game at Salem State when UMass Boston was playing UMass Dartmouth, had a chance for a doubleheader sweep in the snow. That's why it was so memorable to me. And the Beacons blew a game that they were up big. I think it was 5 or 6 runs between the 8th and the 9th, lost in 10 back in 2014, 2015 on a day where Barack Obama was on campus, so campus was closed. Murphy hits it over to the third baseman. Babin a chance to redeem himself. Hard throw. And the Beacons leave 2 aboard here in the 6th. UMass Boston, some rare base runners against Belisna after a couple of slow innings, but unable to do anything with it. We head to the bottom of the 6th. Fernando Burgos coming out for his 6th inning of work. He's looked good thus far.
Paris changed my life, and I got there through UMass. Those very specific seminal moments in Paris, the subway. A man in a tuxedo walked in, and a woman in a long gown. And it was stunning. It all hit me. It was like a lightning bolt. There was this world of beauty and style that I wanted to be a part of. That was the beginning of the journey. And that all came through the University of Massachusetts. And that was really a key moment for me. That's one of those moments you never forget.
Fernando Burgos has allowed 3 singles, a walk, and a hit by pitch through 5 innings. Facing just, I think, 5 over the minimum, if my math is correct there. Bottom of the 6th inning, we'll see the middle of the order, 3, 4, 5, Sager, LaRusso, and Campbell. These 3 have reached twice, a single and a walk thus far. As it will be Sager stepping up for the 3rd time against Burgos. Grounded one off of Burgos that was fielded by Murphy, the second baseman, and thrown to first to end the 1st, and then single to right center, was stranded at 2nd in the 4th. Sager added a single and a walk in game 1, finishing 1 for 3. He's got 2 hits, as does Basetto. A pitch comes inside, and getting out of the way is Sager 1-0. Burgos is 1-0. Fouled back, 1-1. Fernando is having his best year since his freshman year for sure. His numbers are up a little bit after giving up 4 earned last week in 5 innings against Eastern. After going out to a huge lead, the Warriors fought back, but they couldn't get all the way back in a 17-4 win. A big part of that was 6 walks. Previous week against Suffolk, he went 6 innings, 6 hits, 1 earned, 5 strikeouts versus 3 walks. Here's a great fact for you. UMass Boston is 6-0 in the games he's pitched this year.
Wow.
So a chance to go 7-0. He would be 5-0 in those starts. Here's a ball that's rocketed out to left center. Going back is Rogers just shy of the wall, and he makes the play. That might have been the hardest hit ball of the day by the Colonials, but one of the deeper spots in the park. That's just shy of 380. And Rogers, just like Pinales, just like Fershino, all the Beacon center fielders have a ton of speed, easily able to get there in time.
Yeah, the Beacons have a lot of depth in the outfield. You can even put Herzog in that category.
Even Danny Brown.
Danny Brown, absolutely. There's just so much depth on this team that you could really trust any of your outfielders to make that play at any time in the game.
Cleet LaRusso fouls one off. And if I'm UMass Boston, putting that coaching cap back on, guy that I might want to see come in today is Danny Brown. He was taking fly balls in right before today's game. Suffered a knee injury first week of the season after appearing in the opener. And he told me that he is available today. Good sign for the Beacons. A guy they thought was going to be their number 1 reserve in the outfield. It's now 0-2 to Cleet LaRusso, so that's a guy you might want to see. Even Jack Harrington behind the plate, not force McCormick to go the full 18 behind the dish with the big lead. The later this game goes with the 7-run lead, the less you're afraid, especially with the Beacons' talent out there in the bullpen, as that one bounces up there 1-2.
And speaking for Harrington, Harrington can hold his own behind the plate. He's been an LEC catcher when he was with Dartmouth, so he knows the intensity of the game, and he's got a good baseball IQ. And speaking of Danny Brown, he was actually taking some warm-up hacks behind the dugout this past half inning. So he could make that appearance, and we could see him in this game.
I love it when you're able to provide the things that I'm not seeing. So that's 6 strikeouts for Burgos as LaRusso swings and flails at a slider out of the zone. 6 strikeouts for Burgos versus just the 1 walk. He struck out 6 in back-to-back LEC starts. Brings up Greg Campbell, who's 0 for 1 with a walk. He struck out looking in the second, walked to load the bases in the 4th. UMass Boston looking to move to 4-0 on the week, earn their 6th consecutive win, and their 11th straight Little East Conference regular season win. Pitch a little bit inside 1-1. UMass Boston, as we showed you looking ahead, they'll play Brandeis, then Roger Williams. That's a game where the Beacons would like to get a little bit of retribution after a 4-1 home loss 2 weeks ago. One of their 2 home losses on the year, 6-2 coming in. Flared out to left center in front of Rogers, who will take it on a hop. No reason to charge that with 2 outs already in the inning. And Greg Campbell has his first hit in 3 at-bats. And then the Beacons play Babson on Thursday. Obviously, you were part of last year's team that beat Babson twice in the regional tournament. Beacons have had a lot of success against Babson during the regular season as well. I know typically when you talk about rivalries, it can't be just one team beating another one. But is that one of the bigger New England regional games in terms of rivalries for UMass Boston? When you see Babson on the schedule, do you think, hey, this is a big game, knowing how much success they've had the past couple years in the New MAC and last year in the regionals?
I would say so, Seth. I mean, like you said, they have a great team of their own, and that's probably why it's such a rivalry, because it's always a back-and-forth game. And going to their place it's one of the more, not so much intimidating, but it's one of the ones that you circle on the schedule and you get ready for it. It's a game that a lot of guys get fired up for, and once you're there and stretching, you really feel the intensity that's about to take place in the game.
Well, that'll be a big one. The Beacons host Babson on Thursday. They were at Babson last season. As Riley makes a great diving effort, throws across, and it's in time. The Beacons work around the 2-out single, a big play from Eddie Riley on the backhand. And then UMass Boston has another big weekend. They host UMass Dartmouth. Could be a desperate UMass Dartmouth team next weekend. We're going to see a reliever come on for George Belizna to start the 7th, and we're also going to take a look around the rest of Beaconville as UMass Boston's other spring teams are in action today as well.
The University of Massachusetts Boston. It's just minutes from downtown, and the Princeton Review calls it one of the best values in the country. A nationally recognized institution of academic excellence and research, UMass Boston offers more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 Division III sports, and more than 100 student organizations. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online. UMass Boston, a research university with a teaching soul.
Anthony looking real quick around the rest of Beaconville. Track and field is at Smith College today. Softball dropped the first game 4-1. They were leading Plymouth State 1-0 into the 6th in a Little East Conference Championship Series rematch. Tied 4-4 in the 4th. A big doubleheader for the softball team, who had been scuffling. They've won now 5 of their past 7. If you can get a split today against a good Plymouth State team, you'd probably be okay. Men's tennis is at UMass Dartmouth. That game pushed to tomorrow. And 4:30, we'll get you an update on that lacrosse game in a moment as the lacrosse team traveled down to the West Side Athletic Complex earlier on today, and they are just underway looking for their first conference win on the season. The new pitcher is Eric Nicholson. This name might sound familiar to you, Anthony. He started Game 2 last year. He was the guy who was forced into being the team's second weekend starter after the injury to Bierfeld. And he took the loss last weekend, came in relief in Game 2 and gave up quite a few runs. A guy who's struggled in conference play the past 2 seasons.
Yeah, I remember. I remember from Game 2 last year facing this guy. I mean, it's tough to get thrown in that situation, like you said, for the injury of Bierfeld. So it's definitely tough. But I mean, now he's in the bullpen. He might be a little more comfortable from there. So I guess we'll see how it plays out today.
Belisness Day is done after allowing 8 hits, 7 runs, just the 1 earned run over 6 innings. As Eric Nicholson will take the ball to start the 7th. Nicholson on the year has seen a little bit of time starting. He is making his 5th appearance, 3rd out of the bullpen versus 2 starts as Fowler fouls it off 1-2. Nicholson 1-1 with an 8.74 ERA, 11 1/3 innings, has allowed 16 hits, 13 runs, 11 earned, 13 strikeouts versus 8 walks. Opponents hitting .314 against him, and clearly he's got a little bit more velocity than we saw from Belisna. Fowler pokes it out to left field, going with the pitch that was well off the corner, and Chris now has a pair of singles to go with the triple. He's 3 for 4 in Game 2.
That's all you need out of Fowler right there. Fowler's a guy that can hit to all sides of the park, and he's actually a rare lefty who loves to go opposite field, which we've seen with his double and that single right there on the day. So it's tough to pitch to Fowler because he can hit to all sides of the field.
Fowler will take second on the wild pitch. And UMass Boston has a runner out there at second base with no outs, trying to extend that lead. Remember, UMass Boston scored 3 in the first, 4 in the second. They haven't scored any runs since. If UMass Boston were to score at least 3 runs in this half inning and hold Western in the bottom half, this would be a Mercy Rule win. You only see Mercy Rule games in conference play, and they only come if a team is leading by at least 10 runs after 7 innings. So even if the Beacons take a 10-run lead right now, Western would get their at-bats as they are the home team in this contest. Herzog fouls it off, 2-1. Looking a little bit more at Eric Nicholson, the junior righty out of Old Lyme, Connecticut. Spent his first 2 years at Eastern Connecticut State but did not play. As a freshman, started 3 games in 4 appearances, went 0-2 with a 12.15 ERA. Last year, 2-2 with a 5.29 ERA in 6 starts, 8 total appearances. Against the Beacons in 5 innings, he allowed 10 hits, 5 runs, 4 earned, 3 strikeouts, and no walks in a loss. But had a tough game out of the pen last week in Game 2. Through just a third of an inning, 3 hits, 4 runs, 4 earned, 2 walks, allowed all 5 batters he faced to reach. As the only out he got was actually on a runner being thrown out at home plate. So it could have been even worse. Nicholson could have left without an out. Instead, he got the 1 out as he is allowed a single and a walk to start his outing today. And it'll be Kyle Boudreaux stepping to the plate. Kyle is 1 for 3 in this game. Had a walk back in Game 1. Is grounded out to the first baseman his last 2 at-bats, and he shows bunt here. Boudreaux will pull it back, 1-0, and you see that so often when a pitcher has just walked the previous batter, just trying to make it even more difficult for the pitcher to focus on the catcher's glove. 1-0 to Boudreaux, who's been so clutch for the Beacons throughout his career, trying for an extra base hit right here potentially. 2-0 now. And at what point do you potentially give Boudreaux the green light in this at-bat?
I think I'm going to make him throw a strike or 2, honestly. And with Boudreaux up at the bat, he's a guy that can hit with 2 strikes easily. So as he goes and chases one there inside, he's just got to stay level-headed. He's got to calm the nerves. Don't get too excited. Don't get too frustrated. It looks like he's kind of pressing a little bit for that base hit, couple RBIs here and there. But I would have made him throw me a couple first. This should be a 3-0 count. I would have been ball 4 right there for Burgos.
The Beacons do have a reliever throwing. It's a righty out in the pen. I'll leave that to Anthony Searles to tell me who it is.
Looks like Monroe from here.
Chris Monroe did come on last week with the Beacons having a big lead and threw a couple innings before handing the ball off to Alex Carasoto, who earned his first win of the season, a senior, against Worcester State on Tuesday. Nobody throwing yet in the Western bullpen. It's Boudris. Foul tips that one through the wickets, 3-2. Thus far, he's seen 5 pitches, and you could make an argument that all 5 have been balls.
Yeah, and that like I said, I feel like he's just pressing. I mean, you can see he's shaking his head. He's more frustrated with himself at this point, but I think with a guy on second and a guy like Zog with his speed on first can easily score with a double. I think Boudris kind of just pressed this at bat. As soon as he stepped in the box, he's really digging for that RBI.
Coming in is LaRusso. He's not going to make the play. There's a play at third base. The third baseman is off the bag, though, and getting in time is Chris Fowler. So an awkward play all around. That ball falling in front of LaRusso, but the problem was Babin wasn't there, didn't give him a great target, and Fowler is in just in front of the throw.
That brings up my previous point, too, with having him throw you a couple strikes. There was 2 strikes on Boudris right there, and you wouldn't even have known it. He's so calm and cool with 2 strikes that he's a guy you wouldn't even mind seeing in a 2-strike count. And he comes up there with that base hit.
Second hit of the day. They've both been 2 hits, 1 RBI on the day. Single up the middle and a single out to left. That did not score a runner. Don't know what I'm talking about there. Bases full of Beacons for Anthony Cesare. Likely his last at bat of the day, as the Beacons like to use a defensive replacement. He had a big 3-run double as a pinch hitter last week against Eastern Connecticut State to make it a 17-4 game in the 8th. 3-run double right now would give the Beacons all they need for a potential mercy roll victory. 7-0, top 7. The infield is in. Cesare swings and misses, and it's quickly 1-2. Anthony has flown out 3 times, twice to the left fielder, once to the center fielder. Looking to help out his batting average right now. Fowler at third. Herzog at second. Boudris at first. On the outside corner, a low fastball, and Nicholson gets a huge first strike. First strikeout and first out. This will be Joey Rogers stepping out to one of the better walk-up songs, in my opinion. And Rogers, who singled up the middle to start the 6th, has a chance to drive in a few runners. Joey had just 2 hits as a freshman. He's had a little bit more success at the plate as a sophomore, but still hasn't quite broken out offensively the way the Beacons hoped. A phenomenal pitcher who's the Beacons' number 3 starter, which is certainly a big enough role for any player, but the Beacons want him to really reach his potential. A really strong defensive center fielder, a good base runner, and a guy the Beacons hope can develop into a consistent bat as well.
Yeah, and you'll see that come along with just extra reps and more at-bats. Pitching, he's a phenomenal pitcher. You could even argue he's the 1C of this Morin, Burgos, and Rogers group.
I like that. Typically, you talk about 1A, 1B. Throw in a 1C.
Yeah, I really do. I really think he could be, and he's always a guy that you'd want out there in a win-or-go-home game. But he just needs a couple more at bats. I mean, pitching, he's got it down. He's just got to get a couple more at bats and see some balls get out there and drop, and he'll be all right.
It's a 4-pitch, bases-loaded walk from Nicholson, and Nicholson will have a conversation right now with John Susi. I don't think they have anyone up, but I'm 100% wrong. We will see a reliever come on as Nicholson, for the 2nd consecutive week, comes on in relief and gets just 1 out. He's been charged with 1 run already, could be charged with as many as 4, and we'll get you the numbers on the new reliever for the Colonials after this. UMass Boston trying to stretch their lead to double digits after the break. The new pitcher is senior righty Kyle Sanford from Torrington, Connecticut. The righty 6'2", 230. Pitched last season against UMass Boston in an inning out of the bullpen, 5 earned runs, a strikeout, and 3 walks. He came in last Saturday against Keene State with an inning, 2 hits, 1 earned in Game 2. On the year, he's 0-1 with a 10.80 ERA in 3 appearances, 1 start. 5 innings pitched, 3 strikeouts, no walks, 12 hits, 6 earned. Almost all of the damage came in 1 appearance. That came in his first career start, a 15-0 loss to Delaware Valley, where clearly he wasn't the only pitcher at fault. Went 3 innings, 10 hits, 5 earned, 2 strikeouts. So giving up 5 earned runs in, well, let me look at the secondary stats here. He's given up 5 earned runs in 5 innings, or 6 earned in 5 innings, and all but one of those runs came in that 3 innings of work against Delaware Valley. 0-1 to Charlie Hughey. Bases full of Beacons. Already 1 run in on the inning. The Beacons try to stretch this lead even further. They scored 3 in the first, 4 in the second, 1 here in the 7th. Breaking ball off the corner. 0-2. Wow. That is one of the more questionable calls of the day.
Yeah, very, very interesting. That ball, the curveball started off the plate and ended
further off the plate.
Way further off the plate.
0-2 to Hughey, forced to protect, able to foul that one off. Seen Western Connecticut State frustrated a lot, and this time it's UMass Boston. It should go both ways. Although Hughey feels like he's the poor luck recipient there. Nice beard going on for Kyle Sanford. Looks like he's in mid-season form. Already another guy warming up for the Colonials just in case. Hughey fouls off another pitch. Looks like it's number 23 out in the bullpen for the Colonials. That's Andrew Loico, who has thrown 4 2/3 innings thus far for John Soucy, just in case. 0-2 with the bases loaded and 1 down, 1 run already in. 0-2 pitch to Hughey, hit out to left center. That should be at least 1 run. Tagging is Herzog, and the Beacons will stretch their lead to 9-0 with a sac fly from Charlie Hughey. That will score Herzog, who reached on a walk. Both runs in the inning charged to Eric Nicholson.
Did they get an out of that?
2 outs in the inning, and it'll bring up the leadoff hitter, Eddie Riley, who has grounded out to second, reached on a bunt single, flown out to right, and been hit by a pitch. Looking for his first true swinging hit. Breaking ball well outside the zone. If the Beacons can get another run in this half inning and hold the Colonials in the bottom of the 7th, that will be game over. So this is a huge spot for Western right now, trying to extend this game. The 1-0 pitch to Riley. Fastball high, 2-0. Ryan McCormick is in the on-deck circle, so we talked about potentially bringing Jack Harrington to the plate or bringing him in, but it looks like McCormick will hit for himself. Wanderson Pinales just picked up a bat. Wonder if he would come on and pinch hit for someone or play defense, as that is under the hands of Riley, but the strike zone extending once again, 2-1. We're going to get a pinch runner. It will be Pinales coming in for Boudris out at second base. So the Beacons recognizing the potential to cut this long day shorter for everyone. And they'll bring in one of their fastest base runners out there at second to replace Boudris.
You know, it's funny, as I look into the dugout now, I see looks like Frashino is getting a little warmed up, taking the jacket off, and actually Harrington as well looked like he was looking for some gear. So you could see some
slew of changes.
Yeah, you could see some potential changes in there. I'm with you. I would love to see Danny Brown get out there today. It'd be nice to see after the knee injury, being back, and like you said, being number 1 off the bench for the beginning of the year.
2-1 pitch, fouled off by Riley. 2-2. Good thing is, with UMass Boston playing non-conference games, or scheduled to play non-conference games on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Who knows if they'll get all of those games in with rain in the forecast. It could be a chance for some of those guys who are coming off the bench to see some more time. The Beacons will certainly start their normal starting lineup next Saturday against UMass Dartmouth. Although what their normal starting lineup is tough to tell. As it looks like Burgos' day might be done, although he might just be juiced up that it's a 3-2 count. It's tough to tell with the Beacons and their dugout antics. 3-2 pitch, runners take off, and that one is just off the corner. Looked pretty good.
That was close right there. That's tough to lead up to an umpire, especially with today. You never know with an LEC umpire. It gets a little wider, it gets a little iffy there, but Ed'll take his walk and he'll be happy with it. Now it's up to McCormick, see what he can do here.
Bases full of Beacons. First pitch to McCormick is up high. The last time the Beacons had the bases loaded, Joey Rogers worked a 4-pitch walk, and Hughie followed with a sacrifice fly. Already, UMass Boston has worked 3 walks in the inning. They've also had a pair of singles as well. 1-0 pitch to McCormick, and he takes a breaking ball down the middle. Ryan has reached on an errand, scored. Reached on a fielder's choice and scored. Flew out to left and lined out to short, what should have been a double play, but Colonials couldn't convert. McCormick hits it softly over to the first baseman. He gets by him, and the Beacons lead by 10, make it 11. Rogers comes all the way around, and it's bobbled by the right fielder. The Beacons have scored 4 runs in the inning, and they now have the all-important double-digit lead, at least for the people who have been working this doubleheader. You always want to get out of it a little bit earlier if you can. Not that we don't absolutely love watching baseball here at Monin Park, but 16 innings is certainly long enough on the day if possible.
I'll tell you what, Seth, just from catching all these innings over my years, I'll tell you that on the field it goes a lot quicker than it does up here.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, you have a few more people you can talk to, and you have a few more things you need to focus on as McCormick takes off for second. McCormick's out there at second base. Murphy fouls it off. One and one to Dave Murphy, who has two two-run homers and an RBI double on the day. He flares that one out to right. Should be playable, although they're playing him really deep, and that's going to score 2 more runs. Dave Murphy has 7 RBI on the day, and this is going to be another double. It's 13-0 Beacons. Dave Murphy now has 2 home runs, 2 doubles, and 7 RBI on the day. Remember, he had 2 home runs his last game before today. I think we might know who's going to be the LAC Player of the Week this week.
That's not a bad week for Murphy.
No. A little bit of padding the stats here in Game 2. 2 doubles, a home run, and 5 RBI. Not too bad for the Beacons' second baseman of Plymouth. And UMass Boston has now scored double-digit runs in 5 of their past 6 games as the Beacons have batted around here in the 7th. And I can say that because it doesn't matter what your definition is. Either way, we're up to a 10th batter in the 7th inning. This is typically the point that we get to when we're focused on if it's 9 or 10. But we're going to save you from that conversation as Fowler pops it up foul, and it'll be out of play. Chris has had a nice day as well. He has 3 hits in this game. 2 RBI, 2 runs scored. Make it 3 runs scored. Not bad out of the cleanup spot.
You got to think, with Fowler's day the other day, he had 3 home runs.
David Wahlberg's going to have a tough day deciding who gets nominated.
He could also be up there for one heck of a week.
The 0-2 pitch, breaking ball high. UMass Boston has gotten to the Western Pen. Now, the fault in this game is not the Western Pen. The fault in this game is the Western defense early on in this game that put them out of position. 6 of the 7 runs in the first 2 innings were unearned as Fowler knifes one down the left field line, but foul. Missed it by about 1.5 feet. But certainly Western's got to be concerned here that if it's not Taylor D'Onofrio, their bullpen has been really bad in a pair of conference doubleheaders. It's a big reason why they probably stayed with Shane Bierfeld as long as they did. Over 135 pitches in 8 innings in Game 1, but just trying to save the bullpen. 1-2 pitch from Fowler. Hit to dead center field, going back on it as Shaw has room, and that'll do it. But not before the Beacons put up 6 in the 7th We head to the bottom of the 7th. Western needs 4 runs to extend this doubleheader. Otherwise, they're going to head home to Danbury as losers of 4 consecutive conference games and 5 in a row.
Celebrate the soggy shoes and the slow starts. Celebrate the lessons learned along the way. These are the wins. Not the shiny, nail-biting kind. These are the last a lifetime kind.
The new pitcher is Chris Monroe. Comes in for the 2nd consecutive conference weekend. Chris is seeing a little bit more time than he did as a freshman when he was the Beacons' 4th reliever in a pen that really went 3 deep in terms of guys that Brendan Eigerbrodt trusted and used a ton. Monroe has pitched pretty well this season. You look at Chris's numbers on the year, making his 8th appearance, 0-0 with 1 save, a 3.86 ERA, 9 1/3 innings, allowed 5 hits, 4 earned, 7 strikeouts versus 6 walks. Opponents hitting just 161 against him. Last Saturday in Game 1 went an inning and 2/3 with 1 strikeout and a walk. In his last 4 2/3 innings over 4 appearances, has not allowed a run, 2 hits, 3 strikeouts, and 1 walk. This is a guy who's really rounding into form after a rough start to the 2018 season.
Yeah, Monroe also, he this summer went to Cortland Crush in upstate New York and got an award for Fireman of the Year, kind of.
One of those new analytical stats.
Yeah, coming out of the pen. So he's got some stuff to work with. Like you said, he struggled a little bit in the beginning. I feel like that was more of a command thing in Florida. He was kind of missing middle, and if not, he was kind of wild. So he's coming into his own right here, and see what he could do here and shut this down for the Beacons.
Monroe will face 7, 8, 9 of the order. Wilson, Babin, and Rodriguez. As Fernando Burgos' day is done. Ended up working 6 innings, allowed 4 hits, a walk, a hit by pitch, and struck out 6 in a bid to move to 5-0 in the season. 1-1 here to Wilson, who was grounded out to third and grounded out to the pitcher. The Beacons look for their 17th win on the season. Not too bad for 22 games. Breaking ball, a good one, and Wilson swings and misses. I don't know if we've seen a Beacons pitcher today who hasn't had the breaking stuff working.
Yeah, and that goes for the entire bullpen. They all have the stuff, and I mean the starters as well. I mean, you come in and all the off-speed stuff is there, and they're around the plate, which is the biggest thing.
Monroe gets Wilson to ground out to third base. Riley's been busy over there at third today. He's played extremely well. Jake Babin making his first collegiate start. 0 for 2. Worked 2 really good at bats against Fernando Burgos, but went down swinging both times. Will step up for a third time. Just his 4th collegiate at bat. Made 2 of the costly errors for the Colonials in the first 2 innings that led to 6 unearned runs. Beacons really blew this game open with 6 runs in the top of the 7th off the bullpen. I believe all 6 were earned. The combination of Nicholson and then Sanford couldn't slow down the Beacons, especially with 2 down.
It's interesting here, Seth. It looks like Brian Kaufman is getting loose and ready to come in for the Beacons. I wonder what's going on here. I wonder if he's just got a short leash on Monroe, kind of wants to just get Kaufman some innings, but he's out there and he looks like he's ready to come in if need be.
1-2 offering to Babin. Popped up on the right side. Should stay in the playing surface as Murphy will make the play in foul ground. Kaufman, a guy who has not seen a ton of work after being the Beacons' most reliable reliever a season ago, Could it be just trying to get him some work? You expected to see him pitch today if it was close games. Instead, get him a really a good warming up, recognizing that he might not pitch again until Thursday or even next Saturday?
Yeah, it could just be a little bullpen session trying to get some pitches in. And like I said, maybe if Monroe got into some trouble, you bring him in just to kind of get him some work against some live batters. But like you said, he was the most reliable guy last year. I think that's kind of why he slowed down a little bit in the beginning of the season. He threw a ton of innings last year, so they're kind of trying to keep him, not limited, but they're trying to keep him as healthy as can be and not overuse him. Looks like he's actually sitting down now, so it could have just been a little side session.
1-2 to Rodriguez. The Colonials down to their final strike. They scored a run in the bottom of the first inning. They have not scored since. That's how good the Beacons pitching has been. The 1-2 offering from Monroe, chopped over to the left side, a diving effort from Riley, and Hughie couldn't make the play and will go at least one more batter. Everyone here in the press box was ready to hop up and madly start cleaning up. So it'll bring up the leadoff hitter, Bill Bassetto. That's the first hit of the day for Rodriguez, and 8th hit of the day for the Colonials. They have 8 singles. We talked about having a top batting average in the conference, or tied for 3rd at .310. That's going to go down. They've struggled today against the Beacons, but it's the lack of extra base hits that's hurt this team, as Bassetto nubs that one off the end of the bat, 0-1. He has singled, been hit by a pitch, and flown out to center. I mean, you see this Western team, there have been glimpses of some potential today. They just haven't been able to produce enough against this top-tier pitching of the Beacons.
Yeah, which is funny, too, because they started off pretty hot in Game 1, scoring early off Morin on a laser line drive to left field. So they've kind of just slowed down, and I don't know, again, on that strike call, batters just don't seem to agree with the umpires, and I really do think that it's just taken them out of their at-bats in even Game 1.
0-2 offering just off the plate. It's now 1-2. Monroe looks for his first strikeout. The Colonials had 3 hits in the bottom of the first inning, scored their only run. They've only had 6 hits since. Pitch is a little bit low, 2-2. We didn't mention this. If you're really focused, there is a couple different players in the field. Jack Harrington came on for Ryan McCormick behind the plate. Sal Frashino came on in center, moving Joey Rogers out to left. Swung on it, missed. That'll do it. The Beacons sweep their 2nd consecutive doubleheader to open the year. They earn their 6th straight win. They've won 11 straight LEC regular season games. I could keep throwing out the stats, but you don't really need them. We will take a quick look here in our post-game show. 12 hits, 13 runs, no errors. Western done in by their errors. No runs on 5 hits and 3 errors. The Beacons won Game 1 3-1. They win this one in 7 innings, 13-0. And Anthony, this is more of what we expected to see out of UMass Boston. I still don't know if we've seen the Beacons really hit their rhythm quite yet. The Beacons getting closer though with 6 consecutive wins, 5 in their last 6 with double-digit runs. This Beacons team starting to put all 3 facets together at the right time.
Yeah, I don't think they've clicked on all cylinders either. I mean, the bomb from Murphy, he's been locked in. Fowler had a great Game 2 after a not-so-good Game 1. But it's just the fact that they can capitalize on the mistakes of Western and other teams that they've played, which is great. And, I mean, I haven't seen them click on all cylinders. I would love to see 1 through 9 get hot at the right time and see these guys go 9, 10 runs every single game.
Well, we're going to give a shout-out to our production crew, doing a great job working both games today, most of them putting up with the elements, not something that Anthony Searles and I had to do. My name is Seth Dorensky, your producer and play-by-play guy. Anthony Searles doing color commentary for the first time in his collegiate career. Rachel Maslak, our director and instant replay operator. Alyssa Fugel on graphics. Marcelo Cunha, Eileen Shee, Issa Breen, and Laura Roman Castro. They're the real heroes bringing you the sights for this contest. That'll do it from Monin Park. UMass Boston earns a road doubleheader sweep. Remember, the Beacons, the road team, they're 4-0 in conference play, all 4 road games. They have just 3 road games left this year. They sweep the doubleheader by scores of 3-1 and 13-0 in 7 frames. Thanks so much for watching, folks. We hope you enjoyed it. Remember, the Beacons back in action on Tuesday. Western hopes to open their home schedule on Thursday when they host SUNY Purchase.